Hello, welcome back. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Hello, welcome back. I am today just doing some story time. I wanted to slow down for a moment, and it really is a moment because I'm working now and I have a rehearsal tomorrow and I've been running for like 3 days straight. So the moment of story time is about fears. What are you afraid of? I'm gonna tell you mine. I have two, I would say really two fears and one quasi fear, one surprise fear. It's not, I don't even know what to call it. You tell me. So my first one, hold on, I gotta work. Checked in on work, answered some people. I know that was important to you specifically. So the fears. One of my fears is, I think this is the only one I would call irrational. Only because like nothing can happen to me. That's why irrational. Not that I think you're allowed to be afraid of whatever you're afraid of, you're afraid. But it's the giant, what I like to call huge roaches. In Florida, we call them palmetto bugs, but I don't think that's technically right. In the Northeast so far, they're called water bugs. They could be like this big and they have wings and they can take flight. Some people don't know they fly. The flight is the reason why I am afraid of them. It's pretty bad. Like I grew up with them in Florida. Like anytime it rains, they're just out. They like trees. They like tree stumps. They like palmettos, and palmettos are all over Florida. So yeah, they're just there. They're hanging out, and the closer you get to the swamp, the more there are. So anyway, so palmetto bugs, aka huge flying roaches, are pretty bad. Pretty bad for me. I've gotten a lot better. It used to be screaming and running, and now it's more, I might still run depending how close it is to me when I discover it. I can't clean up dead ones. So even if I find them dead, which I have found in the back of my closet here in New York, I usually have somebody clean it up for me. I don't have that option right now. So I just I take the head off of the vacuum and just use the hose because it's wide enough to actually pick it up. I can't hear like legs crunching and stuff. If that freaked you out just now, then you feel me. It's the only thing that I've dreamt of, and I woke up screaming, like in a movie or a TV show, because I'll see them in my dream, and they're kind of like coming up a banister of stairs or something, and I notice that there's like 200 of them, and then they just take flight towards my face, and I wake up screaming. That's happened to me like 3 different times. So when I was little and would see them, I wasn't necessarily afraid of them. I wasn't afraid of like things. I was the one that would capture things like the lizards and the grasshoppers and all of that. Like I'd be like, "Ooh, look!" So I wasn't afraid of them until they started flying. Like when they get scared, it's like they don't have the natural instinct to run away. They fly and it's the face. They come for the face. I don't know if it's the eyes. I don't know if they're going for like lights. I don't know. That was a long discussion on bugs. Okay, so so them. And if you've been watching me, you know that I actually like other insects. Like I like spiders. And people are terrified. I actually like them. And I'm like, yes, you're eating up the bugs too. Thank you. So anyway, so roaches, the flying roaches, big flying roaches. The other fear I have is bears. And I didn't have a fear of bears, but I went hiking and camping in the Colorado Rockies, tent camping when everybody else was like in campers, which to me made it 10 times worse because then we were just like wrapped in our sleeping bags as burritos, ready to eat, ready to serve to bears. And I know bears don't just go around eating people. I know that, and yet it still doesn't matter because I decided to watch a horror movie about bears eating people right before I went to the Rockies. And then I found out that specific year that they didn't have enough food and they kept going into town to get food. So in my mind, it was like ripe for bear eating people. So that was my one bear experience, that a bear came into camp. I'd never been paralyzed with fear before. Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it. I was in my tent, but I did get to see like the shadow and then it going for the bear box, which is in camp. The bear box, by the way, is a metal locker that is bear proof. The bear can't open it. But you would think it would be some steps away from where you're camping, but no, it's in camp. So the bear still comes to check the locker even though it can't open it. Bears. Can't outrun bears. I brought this up before. You can't outrun them. At least bear spray is effective. At least there's that. I did have bear spray. Bears. My fear. So the quasi one I think is funny. It's heights. The reason why it's quasi is because if you asked me for the sum of $1 billion, are you afraid of heights? I would say no, absolutely not. I've never been skydiving. I want to go skydiving. I've never had a fear of heights. I've been on plenty of things that are high. I've been on looking over things that are high and been with people that are like, oh my God, no, I can't do that. I can't. I'm afraid of heights. I have no problem with turbulence on airplane. Like none of that bothers me. So the reason why I say like it's a quasi fear or it's like it was a surprise to me is when I started hiking more and getting into mountains more, I realized that I can't approach a cliff. I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall, but my legs started shaking. So it's like my body was telling me I was afraid and I didn't know I was afraid. And because my legs started shaking, then I was like, oh my God, I feel unstable. I could actually fall off. And then the fear became a more conscious thing. Like, oh, I'm afraid I cannot go over there. So I still think it's pretty limited to that specific scenario, like an open height place without rails, you know? So I kind of want to test it a little bit. I know I'm crazy. I kind of want to test if that's what it is. Like, is it limited? The only other time I felt fear outside of that limited experience was a suspension bridge. What do you call them? Suspension bridges? The little ones that you walk on, not the big suspension bridges. I don't know the name. I think I'm thinking rope bridge. Rope bridge? I think I'm thinking rope bridge because I'm like, most bridges are classified as suspense bridges. Rope bridge. Yeah, I was on a rope bridge. Yeah, I think that's what they're, still it's not very clear. Anyway, I was on a rope suspension bridge in a park in Florida, and it wasn't long compared to, I know there's a lot out there. So compared to ones, I haven't done them, but compared to other, I guess, popular ones, it wasn't particularly long and it wasn't particularly high. It was high, like you would still die if you fell, but it wasn't like crazy high. And it was swinging and I was scared. That was the only other time. And I was, again, surprised. I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared up here. And I was already like halfway through and I had to go really slow. And like, I was walking normally at first and then like, oh no, oh no, this is a problem. I had to start holding on and like walking really slow. So much to my surprise, I have a fear of heights, kinda, in certain situations. Now let's talk about reasonableness. What I was trying to get at, like I'm talking about myself. The disclaimer is talking about myself. I'm never talking about anybody else. I'm never judging that, okay? Especially because I don't care that much. I don't care. The reasonableness thing for me is I can use logic to assuage fears and worries. It's worked very well for me. So I can use logic with the roaches, and like nothing's actually gonna happen to me. Like it will be gross and it will feel gross if they land on me, but that's all that's happening. Versus like falling off a cliff, obviously, or a rope bridge. Not that irrational. The end results, it's something to fear. And bears, I feel like bears are, see, I tried to use my logic and it really didn't work. Like it worked on paper, but it didn't work when it was time to be facing a bear. Like on paper, I'm like, how many people are actually attacked by bears? Like how many people, I was actually looking up these things, like how many people are actually attacked versus the millions upon millions of people a year that visit these different parks. Where are they attacking people most likely? And it's like backwood, you got to get a permit so they can find your body. That kind of hiking and camping, and I'm not doing that. And on and on and on, the type of bears, the season, all of that stuff plays a huge part into it. And logically and on paper, it doesn't make any sense to be afraid. But fear is not logical. I don't know if you know that. Outside of things that actually scare me or are fearful, like fears in life, I don't know how to separate this. I'm not doing a good job. There's another fear, a fear of, I guess, fear that comes along with the unknown. Nope, that doesn't help either because that's mostly what fear is. Fear that's about experiences and what's really behind the fear. Is it something that I feel like I might fail at? If it's that kind of fear, then I actually use it to fuel me. And I feel like it's a sign that I should do the thing if I'm afraid. So like I was afraid of improv before I tried improv. I loved acting. I was nervous when I started acting, but I was never afraid of it. I was afraid of improv and I wanted to quit really, really soon, like the second week. The second weekend. And I was like, okay, this scares me. So I'm gonna do it for sure now. Like it makes me double down and go through, like push through. So that kind of fear, I'm all for, because obviously it just pushes me to do more, achieve more, grow. But fear like I'm going to die, and I think it's a reasonable fear, there's no pushing through that. Why? We have lizard brains. That's our lizard brain working and talking to us. I'm just kind of rambling today. Today, the vlog is about rambling about fears. But I do want to know what your fears are. They could be anything. There's so many fears. There's so many fears, and there's so many names for fears, which are actually very interesting. The fear of crowds, a fear of buttons, snakes, so on and so forth. Anyway, yeah, let me know what your fears are. And can you do anything to kind of overcome them, either in the moment or right after? Have you gotten better with your fears over time? Curious. Let me know in the comments, and then like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.